Hey, new friends. Jennifer here. So here's my talk about critical literacy, and I hope you don't mind that I'm looking at my notes. Um, a research-driven definition of critical literacy is a theory about teaching reading with a deeper goal than surface decoding and comprehension. Critical literacy encourages readers to participate in the text and think deeply about its implications. Through the lens of critical literacy, readers are encouraged to question, explore, or challenge power relationships between the author and their readers. Critical literacy does not have one set of norms to define the process, as it's been refined according to social situations and contexts since the late 1960s. In the 1990s, Peter Freebody and Alan Luke began their work in critical literacy, focusing on classroom practices. The latest ideation involves four principles related to practice. The first, breaking the code of text, and that refers to decoding and encoding text and examining patterns and sentence structure. The following process is to participate in the meaning of text, or to dig deeply and try to view the text from a different perspective, a different culture, a different family structure, etc. Another process is to use text functionally, to examine the different social relations around a text. Why is that text written the way it is? And what about the culture from which it originates dictates how it's structured? And the last principle is critically analyzing and transforming the text. Readers must understand that texts aren't neutral. Cultural literacy frameworks provide a lens to search for ideological or political beliefs and perspectives that may be consciously stated or not. If I think about a classroom practice with a traditional approach, it's one that I do every 2 years when I teach the Ancient Egypt unit to my fifth graders. We always begin with a reading of the Egyptian Cinderella. Typically, we read it for the purpose of noting differences between our culture and the culture of Egypt at that time. The students usually have a Venn diagram or a top hat graphic organizer that they can record their thoughts on so that they can write a summary after. Usually, the differences they note are quite surface level. They'll note things like the fashion or the setting or technology during that time, and they always want to talk about the differences between Egyptian Cinderella and the traditional Cinderella story that we know. Now, if I wanted to transform that into, to integrate critical literacy into my teaching, I would have to dig a lot deeper with my questions, and they would involve things like this. Consider what life was like for Rhodopis, and what is it about the treatment of her that causes us to be shocked today? And what about the fact that she was stolen from her family? And while we can read the story with, and we read the story with the idea that there is a theme of good versus evil, we need to stop and examine who is evil in the story. Is it simply the slave girls who were mistreating her, or what about the people who stole her from her family? What does this tell us about the civilization in which she lives that thought that was acceptable, not only to allow her to be stolen, but to allow her to continue in the situation where she was oppressed? After discussions like that, we could move into more of an application process and talk about things. Do you know of any people? Do you know of people who are stolen or people who are enslaved? And where can we find out more about that? Do you feel moved by that? What does this story tell you about social justice? And what personal choices can you make to cause change? And I do teach a fifth grade gifted resource class, and I only see them once a week. So they really do get into these kind of conversations and they love that discussion. So I think if I were to provide more opportunities for them in this arena, it would really appeal to them and it could make a change. But the rationale for this kind of teaching is to guide students to move beyond the surface of reading comprehension and to think more critically about text. And I think we can all say that the longer we teach, you see a lot more diversity into your classrooms. And as students begin to examine other cultures, talk about differences in family structures, communities, or things like that, I think that will automatically provide them with a respect or even appreciation for that kind of culture. So that's why I think it's important. Thanks.